Brand new video, feed my doggo. Cool. This is a video that you've all been waiting for, I'm pretty sure. You know, I've been holding off on it. I've been trying to create sort of a hype around it, obviously, as I do with most of my videos. But this video is definitely the most wanted by you guys. I'm obviously talking about the logo design tutorial. Now, logo design is not an easy process. That is why I have a helper today. This guy. He's asleep though, so not much help from him. Anyways, there's a few things that go into a logo design process. And that is firstly, client brief or just a general idea. Secondly, research, whether that be inspiration from other logos or designs or the real world, anything like that. The third step is sketching. And fourth and final step to creating your logo is vectorizing. Now, as you guys know, there are different types of logos, different styles and whatnot. Masculine logos, minimal logos. Minimal logos have obviously been trending the most out of all of them. So today we're going to be focusing on doing a minimal logo. Okay, so since I do not have a brief, I am going to be using a website that I just found. I literally just found it. So it's called goodbrief.io and it generates a client brief from just the type of work and the industry. So obviously we're gonna go for logo and industry. There's a lot of cool ones here. I feel like we can go for technology because technology is gonna be really interesting. Okay, so here is our brief. Company name, Fighting Falcon Electronics. So we're obviously going to have something with F. There's double F even, maybe FFE. Since it has Falcon in it, we could have some sort of Falcon in it. There's obviously some research we're going to have to do, some preparation before that, but this is obviously the general idea. Company description. We are a company that develops new ways to create by combining big ideas with an easy to use interface. Our main product is a website that you can use on the go and implements our groundbreaking technology. Our target audience are people with a middle class income. We want to convey its sense of security while at the same time being kind. Deadline 8 days. We're obviously going to do it in one video. So these days I tend to not really use inspiration. I just kind of go into the project based on the information that I've been given. However, especially if you're starting out, inspiration will be very important for you. All the ideas that we will find, we will basically put them on a mood board and we will try to create a new idea based on basically the inspiration we have. What I'll be using today is Pinterest. Pinterest has a really good search engine. So basically whatever you search, you're going to find. So let's look for electronic logo and we have exactly that. This one's pretty nice because obviously it has the E in there, and although this is a T, we could use this concept and implement an F instead of a T. Obviously change it up a little bit, make it friendly as the brief says. This is also really nice because it sort of implements the idea of it being friendly. Obviously the sharp corners aren't really friendly, and here we have very much circular edges, and it obviously helps with the idea of it being portrayed as kind. Let's put that in the mood board. So obviously we're seeing a lot of these have a bolt in them. I think this is definitely something that we're going to put into our concept. A bolt definitely signifies energy or electronics, so it definitely works with this, especially since this is an electronic technology company. This is also an idea that we could use and implement. It has a plug instead of a bolt, so it's also going in the direction of electrical, and even it's an E that is a plug. Pretty clever design. Okay, I like this idea a lot also because instead of actually implementing it into the logo, the bolts are outside of the logo, which make this design really friendly as well, you know, really appealing to the eye. So it just jumps out at you. This is a B that is electric, but what I was thinking is that we could also make it a falcon instead of a B, implement it that way. This idea could really work as well. So we have a lot of ideas here on our mood board. I think this is enough, to be honest. I don't think we need much more. We will be basically working from our minds now, trying to gather all the information that we have just collected into our brain and creating something different, something based on the brief. Okay, so now we're going to the sketch part of this process. I'm going to be using my iPad because it's just easier for me to record the screen instead of recording a piece of paper. But obviously you can use a piece of paper and then take a photo of it, put it into Illustrator. So let's start off. I have my mood board in front of me and I have my iPad right here. So straight away, the first thing I'm actually going to do is write down the name of this company right here so I don't forget it, so I can keep referencing back to the name. I am also going to write down a few points. Like for example, they said they wanted to be kind. And the target audience is middle class income people. They want to convey a sense of security. Oh, I cannot spell. Okay, so now we can get into, we're just gonna start off with some simple little sketches. Like we can even change our brush here just so it's actually like a drawing brush, I guess. FFE. We could maybe flip the F's. Maybe we could do something with the lightning bolt. So if we just draw a lightning bolt first, have like the E here. So this would be like the E. The F would also have to be here somewhere. So it could be something like that. So just keep creating, keep gathering some ideas in your head, and just putting them down on paper. That is probably the best thing you can do with this. So the other F is just kind of like there. Right now it's just kind of there. I'm gonna try and just kind of place it a little bit closer to it. Maybe even connecting it. Not sure if this is gonna kind of obstruct the whole idea of it. The next kind of concept I want to try is the sort of falcon with the bolt. We'll make a fighting falcon, and obviously the bolt is gonna resemble the electronics in the name. So the main thing that I'm gonna do with this to make sure that it's like a fighting falcon is basically put a helmet on it. I know it's kind of like weird now that I say it, but that's kind of gonna show that it's a fighting falcon. And yes, I'm using the same sort of idea as the bee logo I showed you earlier. I guess it's just a general bird, really. Creating this logo is a very tedious process. It definitely will take you a long time to get the idea that you want. Right now, I'm kind of looking at this and I'm seeing, okay, this is a falcon, but the falcon is sort of just in this area here. And then you have the helmet sort of like flying over it. So that's not really what we want. I'm trying to just like sort of implement a lock that would create a sort of security, I guess. If this wasn't the video, I would do probably like 2 or 3 more sketches just to see where else I could improve, what else I could do. But I think this will be the final sketch. Now what we're gonna do is actually put it in Illustrator and vectorize it, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. So obviously, firstly take a picture of your sketch. What I'm gonna do is just simply screenshot it and then send it to myself, and then open up Illustrator. So unfortunately, the first attempt at this video failed pretty miserably. The video corrupted. I went to shut down my PC and I forgot I was still recording, and it's gone. It's okay though. It was only the vectorizing part that I didn't record. So let's get on to that now. I'm going into Illustrator now. I'm going to create new, and I'm going to use a 1920 by 1080. That's usually what I use anyways. And we are going to name this Fighting Falcon Electronics like the brief said. And let's create the canvas. Now we are going to paste in our sketch, so just press Ctrl V. So now we can stretch this out. Just make sure that you're using Shift, because otherwise it's going to do this, and that's not what you want. So press Alt and Shift. So firstly, what we're actually going to do is we're just going to search for a bolt on the internet, because there's not really a point in just using your pen tool to create this, because it's just going to be messy and you kind of want to save time sometimes. So here's a pretty good one actually. We're going to paste it by pressing Ctrl V. So now we're going to go into Object. Make sure you have this layer selected. Object, Image Trace, Make and Expand. Press on the Shape Builder tool over here and just get rid of these here. So now we're going to go onto the Direct Selection tool and actually just get rid of some of these points. We don't need this point. Once you delete the point, you're actually going to have to press on this Curvature tool to enclose the vector. So I'm deleting this, and then I'm pressing on the Curvature tool to just enclose it. Okay, so now that I have that done, we can sort of place the bolt right here. We can of course do a few modifications to it, so we can stretch it out or just move it along this. We can stretch this out a little bit, stretch this, stretch these two as well. Because we stretched this point out only, it kind of created a curve instead of a straight point. So we're just going to press on the pen tool and do this right here to make sure you're pressing Alt as well. Now just move this onto the point here, and once you press Ctrl Y, you can see that there's a slight curve. It's not too bad, but what we're going to do is just grab the Shape Builder tool, press Ctrl and drag, and now we're just going to get rid of this excess. Okay, so now that you have your bolt, we are going to focus on the beak and then helmet. Go into your ellipse tool. You can either press L or you can just long click on this and it will pop up with all these different tools, and you're going to press Shift and left click so you can drag this out. Now go back to your move tool. Now firstly, let's just sort of try and line this up with the beak. So it might not be perfect, but that's okay. It might be more of a curve, and that's fine. So we're going to go back into Ctrl Y and we're going to make this flush. Now one thing that I forgot to mention before we started is that you have to go into View, uncheck Snap to Grid, uncheck Show Grid, uncheck Snap to Pixel, check Snap to Point, and uncheck Snap to Glyph. That's because we want to do all of this kind of freely without it snapping to different places. If I go into Snap to Pixel, it's just not going to move the way I want it to. That's why I just don't use Snap to Pixel. Now, once we have this circle, we can copy this by pressing Alt and dragging with the left click, moving it over here, and now we're going to press Shift and drag this point out and doing the same thing right here. just so we have a perfect beak right here, basically sitting flush with it. There we go. We can copy this circle again and move it up here. That pretty much works well enough. Now if you do want to make this logo perfect, there is a rule that you could use to create a geometrically perfect logo. It's called the golden ratio rule. However, I think that's a topic for another day, so if you want me to create a video on the golden ratio rule, then leave a comment down below and I will do so. Now the next thing I want to do is actually just go along the lines of this helmet. Just use the rectangle tool to do that. So we're going to press either M or just long click on here and press the rectangle tool, and we are just going to move this out sort of like this by pressing Alt and dragging. We're going to duplicate this and move it over here. What that does is actually just creates a line so that for later we can just use the shape builder tool and basically create our shape. So the next thing is we're going to do the curve on the helmet. Now if you want to make this a little bit rough looking, you can just go into the curvature tool and just go boom, 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 boom. Oh, and also once you're closing it, make sure to press Alt so that it doesn't do this weird thing like that. You either use your curvature tool, or let's get rid of this for a second. We're going to do it a bit of a harder way, but it's a bit more geometrically, I guess, sound. Press Alt and drag the circle. We're gonna make this a little bit bigger so that it fits the actual curve. And now we are going to copy this, and we're gonna have to make this even bigger, because what we want is to basically, for this to sort of sit flush with that, so it has to be pretty big. And let's check by pressing out of Control Y. We're gonna want this to be somewhere here, so it has to be a bit bigger still. So basically what we're doing is we're gonna keep making it bigger and checking out of Control Y just so we see if it works well here or not. To be honest, I think this will be enough. So we're just gonna make sure by pressing Control Y that this is sitting flush with the point. Both lines are basically on each other, so that's completely fine. Now what I'm gonna have to do is uncheck this visibility. So we're going to go into layers. If you can't see the layers tab in here, go into window and press on layers, or you can just press F7. And now once we check this big circle, we're just gonna uncheck it just to see this side over here. We're just gonna have to see this side to know where exactly we're gonna put the circle. So we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Press Alt on the circle and drag it out. Now we're gonna make this bigger. Remember to press Shift on your keyboard whilst you're dragging it out. Go back into Control Y and make sure that your circle is sitting right on the line. Okay, so we got that. Here is our logo in the Control Y view. Now what we'll do is actually just copy this sketch to the top so we can see where everything is. So let's just press Alt and drag this by also then clicking Shift. We can actually get rid of seeing the sketch underneath this. I always just copy the whole thing just in case I make a mistake. So let's just copy that over there and let's go and select all of this. Now we're going to go into the shape builder tool and we are going to start getting rid of some of these shapes. So basically keep referring back to your sketch. If something doesn't work right, then go back to this and do it again. Okay, so sometimes what can happen is that if you don't have certain points on the other points, so certain lines on the other lines, then it won't actually work. So say for example, if I have a circle here and then I have another circle here and I have a bigger circle here and I go in and I want to just put this there and I want to just be left with this and this. So I go into the shape builder tool and go boom, boom. What you're going to see now is actually these sort of lines that you didn't actually want because you didn't put the circles on the lines, if that makes sense. So if you're going to Control Y, these lines should be on this sitting flush, but you didn't do that, so now you have this. I hope that sort of makes sense because it is a bit difficult to explain, but once you know and you see it, then you can't really unsee it. Okay, so obviously the next thing will be this sort of lock that we created. What we first need to do is drag all of this, press the shape builder tool, and by pressing Shift and the left click, you're just going to move this all in together and build a solid one shape. So now we're going to go into the rectangle tool, press on that. We're going to sit this flush here. Now what I will do is actually use some rulers to help me guide where this is because I can't really see it on here, obviously. So what I will do is press Control or. That helps me bring out some rulers. I will just move those rulers right over onto these points here, and that'll just help me guide where these are, where these end, so it's as close to my sketch as possible. Now the same thing can be done horizontally. If we check back our original sketch and also press Alt and Shift and move it to the side, now we can bring the horizontal lines down, and that sort of shows us where all the points need to be. So here we can go back and make this like so, and we will actually create an ellipse on one of the sketches, so that works well. Let's do that on the other side as well. This one's gonna have to be a bit bigger, so now we can grab those, move them down. Okay, so it's not exactly on the points, but you get the point. Or do you get the point? Looking back at it now, the lines probably weren't needed here anyways, but sometimes it's good to have guides for these logos, so I'd recommend using them anyways. We can now get rid of these lines, they're not really needed anymore. We can also just unview this sketch. Just in case, we're going to press Alt and move it to the side once again, and I'm going to select the whole thing. Go back to Shape Builder tool, and we're going to do the same thing as we did earlier. Now just pressing Alt and getting rid of these. So we have the shape now. Go ahead and select all of this and press Shift to combine all of them together. Okay, so it's looking pretty solid now. There's a few final touches that we can make. Then the first thing that stands out is sort of this. I don't know why, but it just doesn't really work for me. I think it would be better if we do this, probably. Maybe not so harshly. Overall though, I think we have to sort of curve everything. Let's do this as well, give that a curve. Here we have a point that doesn't want to be curved because there's a point really close to it, and what we do with these is grab our ellipse tool and basically we move it on the lines, make sure it's obviously sitting flush with the lines. Now grab all of this and press Alt on here, so now you can have a curved beak. Obviously the curve is to make this a bit more kind, like the brief said. We didn't want this to be sharp because obviously the whole point of this was to be secure, kind, and approachable. So we can now get rid of these two. Move this over a little bit, we can make this a bit smaller. Now there's many things that you can do with your type. Firstly, you can obviously go to thefont.com, find something that suits your logo. I'm just going to use something simple for this. So obviously the bottom font is going to be a bit thinner. Okay, this sans serif font is probably the best thing we can do. Obviously group them together, and now while we select all of these, we're going to go into the top tab here and vertically align them together. We're going to go on to this middle point here and press Shift and out to right. So that makes it a bit bigger. A lot of sharp edges on this type. So what we can do here is we can select all of this, press on object, go into expand and expand this. We can now go in here and try and just round all of these edges here. Just the outer edges though, because the center edges might be a bit weird. If we also go ahead and do them all together, it might just look a bit better. Okay, perfect. It definitely fits the logo a lot more. Now something I do notice is that this could be a bit more to the right. So if we move this a little bit more to the right, then I think we have a bit more of a balance. And it kind of works better with the helmet as well, to be honest. We can also do the same thing here with this type. So remember, for points only, what I'm using is the direct selection tool, not the move tool, because if we use the move tool, then we can't use singular or multiple points together. We can only move objects. Maybe one thing that we could do is actually move this back, but also move this bit to the side. And there we go. Here is how to create your very own minimalistic logo with a type. If you have any more questions about this, what I did, if I didn't explain something correctly, then please leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to answer any queries you have about this. If you did enjoy the video, a thumbs up will be massively appreciated. And of course, if you want to join the Design Mafia, the link to the Discord will be down below. Design of the month is just around the corner, so make sure to enter. And lastly, make sure to turn on that notification bell down below and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. And I will see you later. Peace.